Sam, don't make me feel alone. Animal wanting to drink beer on.
If my mom sees this, she'll cry.
All right, Brian Carroll back here with the round table of my buddies Adam Driggers, Clint Smith, Sam Byrd. Next thing we're going to discuss, and Steve Colescott actually gave the idea of going back. If you could tell, Adam Driggers of 10 years ago, Sam Byrd, Clint Smith, Brian Carroll 10 years ago, if you could go back and change things or do things differently, what would they be? And this is a tough question. Some people would give the cliche answer of, I wouldn't change anything because it would change who I was. But I guess you could change the question to, what advice would you give to a beginner lifter, to avoid the same mistakes, pitfalls that you've had that caused you a lot of crap at meets, bombing out, etc. You want to start off, Adam?
Yeah, I know exactly what I would change. I would not train as hard or as intensely as I did back then. I took for granted that I was young, and injuries didn't come as often. Injuries, you got over them quicker. But now, knowing what I know now, what that would cause me later, it took me almost 2 years to hit a bench and a meet because of my elbows. If I would have practiced what I practice now, then, I would be a lot further along with my bench. I wouldn't have taken 2 years off of my bench. So I would just be smarter in training, man. I'd listen to my body a little more. Cut out some of the sets that I know I didn't need, that I just did because I was full of energy and, liked the way it felt.
Or maybe you didn't feel like you did enough.
Yeah, absolutely. There were days like that. You just didn't think that 3 exercises and, 3 or 4 sets each was enough, and you do another, fourth exercise or fifth exercise. That wasn't necessary. That didn't give you anything.
A lot of times that's a good thing. You feel good when you go to the gym. You feel good when you leave.
Right.
You shouldn't always feel like you just got raped for 15 freaking hours straight. Maybe you should feel a little tired, a little sweaty, a little beat up, pumped up, or whatever. But it shouldn't feel like a meet every time you go to the gym, in my opinion.
Exactly. Now, I'm not telling anybody not to train intensely or train hard, but some of the things I did, I was stupid. It was just stupid. It wasn't about being intense or training hard. It was
stupid as fast.
Stupid as fast. Right? It catches up quick.
What you got? What are your thoughts, Mr. Genetic Freak?
Well, I guess I would tell somebody to stretch and stay on top of your prehab stuff so you're not doing rehab. Prevent some of these injuries that we've all seen. Once flexibility's gone, it's hell trying to get it back. I spent the last year and a half trying to get back flexibility that would have been so easy to maintain if I'd listened, from the get-go, and I was just too damn stubborn. So stay on top of your rehab, your prehab, your flexibility, mobility stuff, a crossball, foam roller, rumble roller, hell, a PVC pipe for $3. Anything just to keep those muscles pliable. It's going to help increase recovery and performance. I guess the second thing would be I would have put my ego aside and worked with somebody. I would have forked out the money to pay somebody to train me for a while and not think that I know everything and I've got all the answers. They've been there, they've made all the mistakes. I know Brian does some training online. I don't know. Josh Bryant. I did work with Steve Goggins when I got into gear lifting for about 12 weeks. He laid out everything for me, and if I had just not been so damn stubborn, I think I would have made a lot more progress. Quit trying to do it on my own, like Adam said, being young, dumb, full of cum, and just overzealous, trying to kill it every time I was in there. And you can't do that, especially when the years start creeping up on you. You got to cut it back.
Mm-hmm. That's good, man. And that shows. See, that's the thing. At the level that we're trying to lift at, you have to have an ego to a certain extent. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be confident. But you've got to understand you're always going to get humbled. Like he just said, he wishes he would have done this. He wishes that he would have, worked with someone. He wished that he would have, done more mobility, stretching, had more massages, taken care of his body. He wishes he would have backed off his ego a little bit, when younger. But the same thing, like we had the conversation in the gym, that same thing that makes you good, the same thing can rear around and hurt you. Have that confidence and that ego. It works both ways. You got to know when to control it, in my opinion.
I think I'm also going to reinforce what Adam said is I look back to training for some of my earlier meets, and it was almost like I felt like I absolutely needed to hit projected third attempt 1 month to 6 weeks out from the meet. And you're not going to be ready to do that. If that's truly what your third attempt should be, you should be able to do that the day of the meet. And you should not be able to do that 6 weeks out of the meet. If you try to gear your training to where you can do that 6 weeks or 6 weeks before the meet, even if you do that, you're almost ensuring you're not going to do it at the meet.
Maybe there's a strong band or something, handle it. You know,
or a reverse band. Yeah, I'm talking straight weight.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
Even if you are able to manage your training so that you can do that 6 weeks out of the meet, you're going to crash by that, because that's a true peak. Even if you don't overtrain, let's say you do it perfectly and you're perfectly trained, well, you're peaked, and then you're gonna.
It's not going to get any better.
It's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. And that's another thing. I think a lot of people feel that once they accomplish a max, that okay, that's my new baseline.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
You know, the first time you bench 400 raw, 500 raw, whatever, shirted, I don't care. The first time you do it, you might not do it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that there's a misconception that once you do it one time, you can do it every day. And that also, and kind of in the same vein, people kind of feel like they have a linear progression. If they started lifting 6 months later, they benched 20 pounds more. Well, then that means every 6 months their bench is going to go up 20 pounds.
We've seen tons of guys come in out of the gym and leave because the second 6 months didn't go as well as the first 6
Right.
months.
It's non-linear, you know, and you should be thankful for every pound you gain on any movement you're talking about.
Yeah, there's no guarantees. You may have put 200 pounds on your total in 2 years. There's no guarantee that you'll ever hit better than that in the next 10 years. You could have a string of injuries. You could blow your leg apart, your shoulder apart. You could never even compete again due to injuries. There's no guarantees. That's why you got to take the PRs when you can, train smart, put the ego aside, take care of the mobility. Like Clint said, be conservative in your training. And you know, my philosophy is always leave something in the tank. It's better to smash a weight in training than have it smash you, because what does that do? I mean, yeah, I felt the weight, but you felt it put you through the floor or rip your shoulder.
And not only that,
then you got it in your head every time you get under
it kills you mentally.
Mentally and physically, your central nervous system.
Yeah.
If you get smashed by a weight, it could be weeks or even months until you recover and you're able to attempt it again.
Yeah, it could ruin your whole fucking week, mentally and physically. You know, you're just like, oh man, that's all you can think about is how you failed. But if you had scaled it back 5%, 3%, nailed that weight, had confidence rolling into the next week, then you know it changes your whole outlook on things.
So that's a lot of the new guys, man. I try and get them, you know, well, I want to hit this weight that's, you know, maybe a 15-pound PR. I'm like, why don't you hit a 5-pound PR first?
And shut it down.
Yeah, and you know, let's get a PR first.
Yeah.
And then if you feel good and that went well, then we can try a larger PR. But let's PR first.
Yeah.
You know, something small. Let's just get the new weight, and then go up from there. Just be a little smarter about it. Don't be so, you know.
Yeah.
About something.
We've had guys at newer guys at the gym. They'll end up we don't keep track of it. They end up trying like 10 pounds or 5 pounds under their best, and they get it.
Yeah.
And then they go to 20 pounds or 30 pounds over their best, and they miss it. It's
right.
like, what did you accomplish today?
Nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and not to pick on Shane. Shane's a newer guy that just started training with us. He's going to be a 275er. Really smart guy, actually, willing to learn, but he was making a lot of progress in his deadlift. And one day he pulled 500 for a double, I think. And then the next week he pulled 475 for 2, or for 3, actually. He took a deload and he walked in, and his weights were looking rough, and he goes, I'm going to go to 475 for 5. And I'm like, Shane, you do realize that is like 93%, and you're going to pull it for 5 reps? Go ahead and try it and see what happens. Well, he actually listened to me, dropped down to 425 and pulled it for 5 and barely gutted it out. So it's good when new people that, you know, new to the sport still have an open mind. He was still headstrong and wanted to do a certain thing, but us knowing the percentages and, you know, you're not going to, you know, you squat.
Doing the sport my ass. I came down here to train. I haven't squatted in months.
Right.
And, you know, I train with these guys, the intensity pops up, and I want to do something stupid. And, you know, I want to work up over 700, and I haven't squatted in months. And, you know, sometimes it helps to have a team to come in and check your ego at the door, you know, because you're not going to do it. You get, like I said, you get overzealous. You you need somebody with that rationality to step in and say, no, man, it's not worth it. It's not worth risking it. It's not even going to be a PR. It's not worth the injury. You know, he had to shut it down a set early. And, you know, if he hadn't said something, I probably would have tried something stupid. Probably would have got hurt. The rest of my vacation would have been screwed.
Yeah.
That's what I posed to him. I said, look, you just crushed that 615. You haven't squatted. You squatted 3 times this year. You squatted raw unity. You squatted, you know, that no hands circus act in the Arnold cage. And then you had the, you said you tested the squat 700 a few, 3 months ago,
Yeah,
right before after graduation.
Day of graduation.
So this was 4 times squat this year. And I said, the 615 looked good, but you want to go to 700, it's 100 pounds off your best. Best case scenario, you hit the weight. Worst case scenario, you blow something off, you hurt something, you ruin your vacation for the next 10 days or week or however long you're here. There's nothing to gain. You got to weigh. You got to see, okay, well, if I do this, I'm going to gain this. If I fail, I'm going to lose everything. You got to weigh your options. Everything you do, you got to be smart. One stupid decision, you know, all of us have made them. We've gotten lucky. I've made many, countless stupid decisions, and it would cost me either a meet, bombing out of the meet, an injury that, you know, plagued me for 2 years, or, you know, just totally, or you name it. It can happen and you're out for a year.
Well, yeah, Dave told us, risk, reward.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
What's the risk you're going to take versus the reward you'll get? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And what reward would you have had if you hit 700 today?
Benefit cost analysis.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're a nerd.
I am a nerd.
But I mean, that's it, you know, going back to the topic we were just discussing, the things that I would change, I wouldn't have cut so much freaking body weight for meet after meet after meet and put my body through God knows what. You know, I could have had a stroke. I could have, you know, who knows what, you know, organ failure from all the sweating in the sauna, all the diuretics and whatnot. It's for what? I mean, yeah, I hit some world records doing that, but maybe I should have just done that for the really big meets and not the small meets instead of every meet for 4 years straight. It's just stupid. If I could go back, I would have cut maybe 40% of the time that I actually did. Another thing too would be, again, we're all at the point now where we understand that our egos have hurt us at times. I would have picked my attempts a lot more conservative and not bombed out as many times as I've had. I would have always dropped my open or something I know I could double, and I would have got into every meet that I would have bombed out. And that's just coming, you know, straight up. I bombed out, you know, more than I should have in my career. I bombed out 6 or 7 times over the last 10 years, and it really, I mean, everyone bombs, but it should be more like 2 or 3 in my opinion, and not 6 or 7.
Well, you know what you were saying about cutting weight, you know, definitely health risk is definitely, you know, that in and of itself is enough of a reason. But consider how much maybe you restrained your own progress.
Yeah, performance.
By keeping, you know, you seem to be right now, in my opinion, you've kind of stayed around 275 weight class. You know, that's like your body, where it should be.
Yeah.
But you kept yourself back for so long from training there because you were trying to make weight. And
handicapped over some.
Stay within reach of a certain weight.
And,
yeah.
And I've done that too. But, you know, I think that I learned from your experience because you kind of shared, you know, what you had experienced with me, because I myself was obsessed with staying at 220. And you're finally like, dude, just don't worry about it.
Right.
You know, and
you too. Get your numbers you want at 220, and then come down to 198 and try to get them.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to do it that bad, I mean, I've seen you drop ridiculous amounts of weight to get it in a certain class that you want. But why do that until you do it in the heavier weight class first?
Right. You know? Right. All right, let's get this here. We'll go to the next one.
Yeah, I'm still doing that.
You didn't.